Hello, STEM girlies! Welcome back to Computer Students, the podcast that connects ambitious and driven people just like you guys to the trailblazing women of STEM. I hope you all had an amazing holiday season and that your new year is off to a fantastic start. So kicking off 2025 with a bang, I'm beyond thrilled to welcome our first guest of the year, Angela Yang. Currently studying computer science and economics at Harvard University, Angela is here to share her incredible journey, experiences, and insights. So whether you're exploring a career in STEM or looking for inspiration, this episode is packed with wisdom you won't want to miss. So let's dive right in. Thank you so much for being here, Angela. Could you start by sharing a little bit about yourself, your work, and what you're specifically studying in college this year?
Yes, of course. So I'm Angela. I'm from Los Angeles, and I grew up there, and a lot of my background is definitely rooted in my city advocacy and also my family. My work centers primarily in high school around computer science, economics, and government, which are like the three areas I currently plan on studying at Harvard. For computer science, I was very actively involved in robotics at my school for a few years. For economics, I kind of discovered that as a side interest while I was doing my school's academic decathlon or Acadeka team in junior year. And then for government, I discovered that gradually throughout high school as I entered different public service events and also served in different roles. For instance, for youth development, I served on my city youth council. And then on the gender equity side, I got involved with an organization called Girl Up. Right now at Harvard, I'm studying computer science and economics, and I also hope to minor in government as well.
That is so cool. That blend of CS with economics and government is so fascinating. I love that. So, how did your journey with computer science and government and econ, all of that, how did that begin? Was there a moment when you realized, like, yes, this is the field I want to pursue?
Yes, so I'll say my journey began very early on. In middle school, I entered robotics for the first time through something called the First Lego League program. So I was a part of an FLL team for 2 years as a programmer. And that was kind of my beginning journey. I got very involved in the conceptual side of programming because it was mainly blocks, but I liked the fact that it was very logical and straightforward, but there was also a lot of challenges to solve at the same time. I will say there wasn't like an aha moment for me when I realized that I for sure wanted to study it. It was more like a gradual build-up. But then in high school, I got into robotics as well through FRC, which is First Robotics Competition. And that's where you're in like large teams of about 40 people and you manufacture your own parts for the robot. And it's a lot much more like hands-on approach to developing a robot and the programs that come along with it. And throughout my FRC experience, I really enjoyed the process of debugging and collaborating with the other programmers on my team. And from that, I kind of recognized that I liked computer science because I'd always loved math since I was young. And I felt like it fused together like the conceptual rigor of math, but with a hands-on application that could be used to impact the real world as well. So for me, it was definitely more of a gradual build-up, but I definitely do love the field. And I found a lot of ways to implement my passion into my community work as well.
Amazing. So, building on that, what qualities do you think are essential for achieving success in the STEM fields?
Yes, so I think there's definitely a lot that goes into getting into STEM. I was fortunate enough that when I was younger, I knew for a fact I wanted to study STEM, particularly math, but ended up being computer science. I will say there are definitely a lot of qualities I think are important. I'll list a couple that for me have helped me get through even the most difficult challenges I've faced in the field. Curiosity is one of them. I think it's always important to be someone who cares a lot to learn about different subjects, especially ones that might not be directly linked with your STEM area of interest, but could potentially overlap with it. Organized thinking or analytic thinking is also very important. You can kind of gain those skills through doing math or within different courses at your school, but it definitely hones the kind of mindset people have when it comes to problem solving that makes it much easier for people to find STEM fields more accessible and understandable. Third one I would say is self-motivation. STEM is definitely a very dense field and there's a lot of areas to explore within it. And for me, it helped a lot that I cared a lot to explore whatever I could. So whether that was like chemistry or biology or computer science or engineering, mathematics, I explored a little into every single one of those fields and I was able to motivate myself to keep going. And that allowed me to eventually find what I found to be the most interesting. Fourth, I would say creativity. Fifth is collaboration. I think, and regardless of what field you go into, but especially in STEM, it's important to learn how to collaborate with people of all backgrounds. I think, especially as a girl in the field, you'll have to learn how to collaborate with a lot of guys, sometimes a whole room of guys. And it really teaches you a lot about being able to stand your ground and have confidence while also learning about other people's perspectives. And the last one I would say was a more unexpected one for me, which was communication. I think STEM is known as a field where it's a lot of studying, a lot of researching on your own, but a huge part of succeeding in the field is knowing how to communicate, whether that's through written communication or verbal communication. I think it's crucial to be able to talk with large audiences, but also be able to just express your ideas to other researchers and people who are interested in your field. But I would say when it comes to STEM, the reason why I like it so much is because there's so many skills it builds up for you. And those are just a couple of the qualities I think that are very crucial to boosting your success and entering the field.
For sure. All of those qualities you mentioned are so amazing and so crucial. And I love that you talked about self-determination and collaboration. That is so important. And I really like how you mentioned that, yes, being a girl, you are definitely outnumbered in a lot of STEM rooms. So even with all the progress that we've made in society, the gender gap in STEM still remains. And whether you're in like a CS class, CS club, or even a CS company when you go onto the workforce, the number of girls compared to the guys is very few. So what are some of the strategies you've developed while being in rooms like this? And, for a lot of girls, it can be hard to stay confident being outnumbered. So for you, what are some of the tips and strategies you developed to kind of find your voice and have your opinions be valued in a room?
Yeah, I think there's like a lot of, okay, so I will address that. Yes, like it definitely happens a lot, especially I think I'll first get introduced to it throughout high school and middle school because that's usually when a lot of your male counterparts are at their like least mature stage. And I know for a fact that I've experienced a lot of that in my own life, but I will say, I guess two things I would say. So firstly is to stand up for yourself. Sometimes people might cross a boundary or say something that makes you uncomfortable, and you don't have to sit there and take that. I guess standing up looks different for a lot of different people. For me, I'm not a very confrontational person. Like I struggle very hard with just telling people that I don't like something that they did. But standing up can also be just removing yourself from the situation or talking to an adult. Just being able to express your concerns to someone else is very important, and to stand up for the fact that you have a right to be in that room as well. And then secondly, I would say, even if you're in a room full of guys, or you typically are, I think it's important to find community. For me, I found a lot of the most comfort in being able to just find other girls in STEM. I think that nowadays, because high school clubs are very centered around this culture of gender equity and empowering women, you can find a lot of clubs like Girls Who Code or Girl Up that are able to provide you with safe spaces where you can bond with other girls and share your different experiences. But I will say it boils down to those two. And then on top of that, I think for me, one thing that really helped was getting into speech and debate. It was a very strange side quest for me, but in middle school, that was one of the few activities I really got into because one of my teachers suggested I get into it. And doing speech and debate really taught me how to verbally communicate with others, and that allowed me to clearly express my thoughts and also stand up for myself in different group situations. So I will say there are a lot of different activities, even outside of the STEM realm, that can build up skills you use within it to succeed. And speech and debate is one of the best things I've ever done with my life because it's taught me a lot about self-confidence and also being able to empower others to use their voices as well.
Yes, being able to communicate for yourself is vital to everything in life. So, with any amount of success comes challenges and failures. Can you share a time where you faced a significant obstacle or hurdle in your journey and how you overcame that?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess it kind of ties back to what I just mentioned about being a girl in STEM, but I can be more specific about my early experiences. So when I first got into robotics and I did a lot of different competitions in like the math and computer science realm, I would often be in rooms full of guys. And I think it wasn't just the fact that they were guys, but it was just the way they acted sometimes. I oftentimes felt very intimidated because they would make these offhanded jokes that were very racist or offensive towards different communities. And at the same time, I felt insecure too, because even when I did succeed, I felt like it was only because I was a girl that people were picking me for different things. And as a result, it built up a lot of like self-doubt whenever I was handling new projects. But one main way I've been able to overcome that is by not just finding different communities, but also fostering community in places that I feel are necessary. So, for instance, at my high school, I founded our Girls Who Code Club when I was in sophomore year. And it was a big space of community for me because not only did I have a lot of my friends in there, but we gained so many members from around the school and different social circles. It was a really beautiful chance for me to not only teach girls programming concepts and get them immersed in different fields like web development or app development, but I was also able to create social events and activities that made it feel more like a community at the same time. So, for instance, we would have like secret Santas, we would do birthday celebrations, and all of us really got to know each other very well. And I believe that one of the best ways to overcome challenges is to find the people who will be by your side. And for me, that was being able to create a space where I could find girls who cared a lot about the field that I cared about, but were also very compassionate and kind and funny. And I will say for any girls out there who might struggle with finding community in the STEM space, you don't have to force yourself to endure the behavior of others. You can really just be a self starter and go out there and take initiative to start your own club or your own safe space. And that'll definitely lead to a lot of positive effects for not only yourself, but also the other girls around you who could benefit from that community.
Yes, that is so amazing. Thank you for sharing that. We started Girls Who Code. That is awesome. I actually did just start a club at my school. So it's on where we host hackathons for girls in elementary and middle school. Like you said, finding that type of community is so important because in all of your other standard clubs, you kind of do feel intimidated.
Mm.
And I love that you mentioned that you can create your own community and help foster
Mhm.
that for other girls too. Thank you for
Yeah.
highlighting that. And
Yeah.
then with such a busy life that you have, how do you balance your time between university, work, extracurriculars, and your personal or social life?
Yeah, so I think college has been very different for me because I've been prioritizing social life a lot more. And I think that that's just a very common experience because high school, I was just constantly on the grind. But in college, I definitely had a very packed schedule, but I was able to learn how to relax in other ways. So I guess I'll say like there are three different tips I have when it comes to balancing your time. The first one is to be very organized. From a very early age, in high school at least, I used a lot of productivity platforms. For me, I use Google Taskboard and Google Calendar a lot, and those are like my number one go-to in organizing my schedule and what I need to get done in the day. And when you're able to write out those things more clearly, it helps you to be a lot more productive. Second thing I would say is to be self motivated. I think that oftentimes the grind can get very tiresome, but it's really important for you to know the purpose behind your work because when you look at the overarching reason why you're in college or why you're studying a certain field, you can remind yourself of why it's important for you to succeed in this small task at the moment. And that allows you to put more full effort into everything you do. And on top of that, I would say it's important to have long term goals that you aspire towards. So when I was in high school, my long-term goals obviously included getting into a good college, but at the same time I had visions of what career I wanted beyond that, and that allowed me to find the activities that best anchored my passions to who I was. And the third one I would say is to know how to relax. I think that that's something our entire generation struggles with. People often have taken to like social media as a form of relaxation or other vices, but I will say when it comes to relaxation, I think that the best thing for me has been spending time with family and friends, but also finding ways to incorporate your own passions or personal passions into that relaxation time. For me, I love Disney movies, I love board games, arts and crafts, and also exercising. So I'll integrate activities with my family and friends with those elements, and that makes it a lot more really relaxing and fun of a time. It also allows you to bond with the people you love as well. But I will say, when it comes to balancing time, no one is really perfect at it. It's kind of something that you hone throughout your life. But those are three of like the main characteristics I think that have best helped me balance my time in high school and especially in college.
Yes, that is awesome. And I love that you mentioned finding other ways to relax other than social media because I feel like whenever we're on social media, our brains aren't actually relaxing. We should definitely spend time with our family and friends and find those types of modes of relaxation. So
Mhm.
that is great. And could you now tell us a little bit about some of the internships or leadership roles that you've taken on during high school and early college? And how did they shape your path towards becoming the person that you are today?
Yes, so throughout high school, I didn't do a lot of internships. I think I focused a lot more on my academic interests within school, and then outside of school, I mostly did service. But I can't talk about the two main roles that I think shaped my interests going into college. and that was my service on the LA City Youth Council, and then also as a Girl Up Teen Advisor. So for the LA City Youth Council, I served in my senior year actually, and it was kind of an accumulation of all my efforts from past years doing community organizing and activism. And being on the council itself taught me a lot about open mindedness. I was able to interact with youth from across the city, different city staff members, nonprofit staff, etc. And being able to hear each other's perspectives on different issues that LA struggles with. For instance, we talked a lot about police brutality, we talked about youth development, we talked about budget allocation, and especially, LA right now has our fires going on. So there are a lot of discussions around how to help youth throughout that process as well. But being on the council helped me a lot with learning how to absorb other perspectives and also enlightened me to what I call like the beauty of government work, which is just that it's not just about knowing policies and being very intellectually invested in history or politics, but you also just get to meet the people you're serving and you can see that what your work does has a real world impact on others out there who are still struggling. And then for the second role as a Girl Up Teen Advisor, I've been involved with Girl Up since freshman year, but I served as a teen advisor in senior year. And Girl Up is affiliated with the UN Foundation, so a lot of their work is global, and that taught me a lot about global collaboration, but also compassion for sure. I worked with a lot of girls across different countries, and I was able to learn about their own experiences with women's rights and the issues their countries were going through. And I will say those two leadership roles, even though I both did them during senior year, they were definitely an accumulation of my passions from past years, and they helped shape my path because even entering college, I think right now I do a lot of activities surrounding STEM side and social sciences with like technology and economics, but at the same time, I still have that government passion in me to serve others. I think that's helped shape my path a lot. And that's why I encourage people in high school to not just do conventional activities, but also to really, in those activities, try and find true passion and meaning in the stories and the people that you meet, because it can stick with you for a long time and give you a long term purpose, passion, and mission to work towards.
For sure, that is so amazing. I didn't know that you served on the LA Youth Council. That is so cool.
Thank
So, high school years can definitely be so formative. And like you said, being a Girl Up advisor and being on the LA Youth Council, how do you think your high school journey kind of influenced and helped shape exactly who you are today? So what's an opportunity that you leveraged during high school that you think not a lot of people do that helped you get to the specific position that you're in?
Yeah, so my high school is Granada Hills Charter High School. Not a lot of people know about it, but it is well known for its academic decathlon team. And that's something I did during junior year. I had to leave robotics because of it, but in the end, it's definitely one of the most transformative experiences I had through high school. I think it's because of the specific way it was run at my high school, where our team would practice a lot, like just a lot. We used to practice during breaks. We'd practice for hours and hours every day, just studying and learning and collaborating with one another throughout that process. And I'm just going to call it Akadeca because that's what we called it. But I think it gave me a lot of different key takeaways as to who I am and also the skills that I have now. I will say primarily it gave me like almost an arsenal of academic study skills and also a huge tolerance for being able to study for long periods of time and delving into dense subjects and learning how to research questions on my own and take advantage of learning resources. Secondly, it definitely helped with my ability to empathize with other people and really care for everyone I have on my team, because in our team we didn't have a captain, so basically everybody had their own opportunity to be a leader in a different way. And for me, that was by helping to take care of my other teammates, because a lot of them struggled through different personal things throughout the year, and I was really always there for them to understand their needs and relay them to the coaches. And I think that a lot of the compassion that I have, even though most of it came from my own family and my experiences growing up, but being able to apply it to a team and seeing the effect it could have on people meant a lot to me in terms of the fact that I just really care about how other people feel and I care about what happens to them. And then on top of that, I think Akadeca taught me a lot about bouncing back from failure. Akadeca is very driven when it comes to progress by scores, and you can very easily tell if you've done worse or better than last time. And there were a lot of times where my team and I, or just me specifically, I did worse in a certain subject or worse overall. And it taught me a lot about being able to immediately react well from that failure and have determination to go on and continue forward. And having that resilience, that academic resilience, and also that mentality allowed me to get through college apps and a lot of the other obstacles that I've since encountered. But I will say Akadeca is one of the most unique things I've done with my life, and I'll definitely forever remember it. And it's taught me a lot about the characteristics I value in myself and the skills that I have to succeed today.
That is absolutely incredible. This is a recurring question among our viewers. Everyone has big dreams. They want to, achieve all these things, do all of these amazing activities, but resisting the temptation to spend full blocks of times on our phone is a struggle for many, especially in this generation. So, what are some tips you would give to your younger self for prioritizing getting work done?
Yes. Okay, I will say I still struggle with this a lot of the time. I think like no matter how productive or successful someone is perceived to be, they'll always struggle when it comes to just like always finding something to look at because I feel like social media for me was a huge part of my high school life and it was a big part of connection and a way for me to meet friends. So this definitely still happens to me sometimes. Sometimes I will find myself like endlessly scrolling through Instagram. But I will say, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of like I guess, measures you can take in your life to ensure that you're able to productively relax in a way that's more beneficial to your mind and to your friendships with other people. Um, I will say it's important to be organized. It's easy to understand because then it makes it easier for you to understand like what you have to get done and where to start. Motivation is important, but I would say that this is more on the terms of whenever you lock in to study, you have to fully lock in. Like I think it's important to be very conscious of your mindset and understand if you are genuinely focused or not. And if so, if you're not, then it's important to immediately like convince yourself or remind yourself of why it's important for you to get this task done properly by looking at the big picture sometimes of why it's important for you to accomplish whatever you're reading, whatever you're currently reaching towards. And then the third one, which I think is most important, is to find more engaging hobbies. I will say it's like impossible for someone to fully be working all the time. There are very few periods in life where you can just keep grinding. Like for me, even in college, it's very hard for me to fully focus for a long period of time. But it's also important if you want to relax to do it in a more productive way that can actually benefit you socially or benefit you in other ways. And I think that one of the biggest ways I found to do that is just by hanging out with people I love. So at home, that could mean like playing board games with my family. But also in college, I've done a lot of fun stuff with my friends. We've decorated cookies together, we've gone ice skating, watched horror movies. And I guess it all goes to say that even though there's a lot of ways to get addicted to social media out there, if you want to give away full blocks of your time to have fun, and you should because it's important to relax, you might as well do it in a way that allows you to engage with other people. And that would be my number one piece of advice.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. Angela, your achievements like winning the Coca-Cola scholarship and being a Milken scholar are absolutely incredible. So,
Thank
could
you.
you talk a little bit about both of these scholarships and what they meant to you?
Yeah, so I can give a basic breakdown of each of them because they're somewhat similar and different in other ways. The Koch scholarship, well, I guess they both center on a mixture of leadership and service. So it's important for you to have demonstrated that you can lead groups of people, but you're also able to serve and care for a community at the same time. And they both involve like several rounds of applications. Most of them start off with a written application, and you end up doing an interview stage, and then they decide from there. Coke is open to basically anyone to apply. So I would encourage any high school senior to apply because it's always good to apply for scholarships and be able to kind of mitigate the cost of college for you and your family. And then the Milken Scholarship is only open to scholars in the Los Angeles, DC, and New York areas. But I will say both scholarships are incredible opportunities to apply for, and they've given me different resources and networks that will stay with me for a long time. As for what they mean to me, they are very energizing and motivating. I think whenever you get a scholarship that recognizes you for all your effort throughout high school to make a community a better place for other people, it's very meaningful because it recognizes the effort you've put in. I will say for me, it was very personally meaningful because it kind of signified my ability to break like a generational barrier for my family and make my family proud because they genuinely mean a lot to me. I'm the oldest of three, so I have two younger siblings, and then my parents have been raising us for my whole life, and they worked very very hard to be able to make sure my siblings and I are all good people and that we all share a value of love and compassion. And being able to make my family proud has definitely been such a rewarding experience. On top of that, I think having scholarships is really important to just pursue my career and future pathway. And I would encourage anyone out there. I know the college application grind can be very, very long and tiresome. But for me, getting scholarships and starting to apply for them right after helped me to keep the momentum going and also allowed me to be able to take full advantage of the time I had after college apps to make things easier for my family and also just be able to meet other people, because these scholarships introduce you to a lot of different people who are already in the workplace, other college students, and even current high schoolers that you can all bond with. But I guess it all goes to say that I think it's important for people to apply to scholarships, and I would encourage any senior to go out looking for those opportunities, because especially with the Coke and Milk and scholarships, they've definitely helped me so much with my career guidance and also finding a community while I'm in college.
Yeah, that is so sweet. I love that. So, my last question for you is, what advice would you give to young girls if they're aspiring to succeed in the STEM fields, whether they're just starting off or they might be even a little bit nervous to get into a STEM field? What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I guess I've kind of summed this up throughout my responses, but I can give like more concrete pieces of advice. The first one I would say is to explore everything. I think every single career path out there is interdisciplinary, so it involves knowledge in a variety of areas. So even if you're interested in just biology, when you enter the career field, you're not going to just have to do biology. You have to do some mix of maybe that and computer science, or that and math. So I will say, for me, I benefited a lot from exploring different fields, and that doesn't have to be through like school teams or extracurriculars. You can also do it through courses. For instance, when I took AP Chem, I absolutely loved chemistry and my teacher, and I learned a lot about science, and I found out that I actually do like some pillars of science which I'd previously not thought I enjoyed. And I also got involved with robotics, and that helped me with tech and engineering. I got involved with my school science team for that. For math, I've always liked it from a young age, but it's helped me a lot to explore that field in college. I just this semester I took a proof-based linear algebra course at Harvard, and it was very, very difficult. I struggled a lot initially, but I ended up being able to study it a lot and ask for help from other people and study it just diligently on my own as well, and ended up doing very well in the course. And I think that I truly believe it's important for anyone to study as many fields as they can, even if you have a specific interest in one area. I would encourage you to go out and explore any opportunity you have to look into the humanities or the social sciences as well, because most career paths out there, especially ones that incorporate a lot of leadership, require people who are somewhat well versed in different disciplines. A second piece of advice is to find your people. For me, that's definitely my family and my friends, but it looks different for everyone. Finding your people can take a long time or it can take no time at all. But I will say, no matter what happens, it's important to be patient and really truly be honest to yourself. Most of the friends and the family that I'm closest with right now are the people who have accepted me for who I am. And that includes, like, for instance, I have like a stranger sense of humor, or I like certain like activities or hobbies. And your family and your friends will genuinely be there for you through so much. And it's so important to try and find your people and be honest with yourself whenever you don't vibe with a group of people. Because, for instance, in high school, you might encounter a lot of drama with friends, and that's definitely natural. But it's important to continue looking for those friends who you know will truly support you and have your back. Third piece of advice, this is a little long, but is to be kind to yourself. I think that some of the best affirmations I've given to myself whenever things don't go well in an area of my life is that, like, firstly, everything happens for a reason, and that you can't change what's in the past. So it's more important to simply look towards the future for what you can improve on or what you can do next time. And then my last piece of advice is to be open to self-improvement. I think it's very easy for people who succeed in fields or are trying to succeed in fields to kind of be blinded to their own flaws. But I think one of the things that's helped me succeed and be able to connect with others is the fact that I'm very honest with myself about what I struggle with and areas of like my life where I could be a better person or I could be a better friend. And it's always important, regardless, I guess, of if you want to succeed in STEM, to learn how to self-reflect and understand what areas you can improve in and how you can be able to help others as well. But I will say overall, succeeding in STEM looks different for everyone, and I would encourage anyone who has any questions to reach out to me. But yeah, I think everyone will eventually find their own path, and I believe in all of you out there. And if you're already looking into the STEM field right now, you already have a head start on a lot of people. I think that's very important. So just keep exploring and keep getting to know others and keep being open-minded and enjoying your journey.
That's amazing. So that does bring us to the end of this podcast. A huge thank you to you, Angela, for being so open and authentic with us today. Your stories, tips, and advice were absolutely so inspiring, and it was such a privilege to have you on Computer Giants. To all our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode with your friends, and leave us a review. It helps us connect more ambitious girls to amazing STEM role models. Until next time, Keep reaching for the stars and chasing those dreams. See you soon on Computer Science.